particular prophetic window of sorts has been opened up today within this experience here. It's come across to me to convey this outwards. As it says in Deuteronomy, it is God's anger that will burn against those on that day. And as it goes on to state, I will abandon them and I will surely hide my face from them. You get it? There's a long-standing tradition of what's known today as either tea leaf reading or coffee cup readings in the respective traditions and places in the world, of course. A lot of people who aren't familiar with this think it's a sort of, by today's hyper naive mindset and the hyper skepticism we've inherited in the part of the West here with this culture we have, although that's starting to correct now. I don't think that skepticism is as strong as it used to be. But you can imagine at the peak of that sort of modality that we took on here, one would hear about this and not really think much. Oh, what is that, a scam or something? People don't really realize how spot on this really is. And in fact, this brings to mind something I happened to have years and years and years ago, very relevantly to something that's going on recently now in this life. I had a very profound coffee cup reading that was given to me by somebody apparently at least moderately well known within that sphere of life, right? Doing it a long time and all this, somewhat known for it. And this might not be a story that I've shared here, but people close to me know, and it's amazing how asymmetric information and information spread is in this world. People don't even know what they don't know. And this is the same is true about this YouTube channel. This channel hosts nothing compared to what really is the breadth of what there is to convey. I don't even have it to. It's hardly anything is said on here really. But continuing. But I've been sharing that story for years about what this halfway known person within that particular those spheres, right? Turkish coffee cup readings. Years ago, I was already sharing this story with those around me. Back when I had no idea what the significance, what the significance of it would be. I had no idea for years. Today, I know the significance. And you can't make this one of those stuff. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. Anybody who heard me talking about that for the last several years prior, before I knew anything or had much to do with the sort of energies and state of things that's going on now that people are bringing me into connection with, they know this and they knew me and knew about that story, they're sitting there going, oh my God, like that. Maybe I'll share the details of that sometime soon, maybe. But for now, let's get into the point. I remember when I had this done on me years ago, back when I was a quote-unquote normal person, right? Before the whole events happened that completely changed everything. That was about 9 years ago now. I remember looking down at grounds of coffee grounds and tea leaves saying, what do people see in this? Come on. It doesn't make any sense. How can you look at a bunch of coffee grounds like this and see something and have something be communicated to you? That's right, you really don't know what to make of it. When you're a regular person, you don't have that connection. It seems like you have believe it, or even believe it, and yet You believe it, but you'll never understand it, right? Fast forward several years, 9, 10, 11 years now. And 11 years ago that was. Yeah. I'm here now. Never mind all the other interesting powers, so to speak, that I've been talking about for the last several years that I've taken on, both at the level of the physical and the spiritual. These both joining and all that. I really only realized experientially, not logically, right? Within the last year or so, I could look down at these coffee grounds. Aha. I see it now. I see it. And it's only coffee grounds and tea leaves that has that effect to become the vibrational energetic window into the viewing and perceiving of the other aspects about that, which is, to really say it like that, it is real. So I experience now, they're not making it up. There is something, you tell this to a scientist, they'll say, well, there's no, you can't prove it. Right, doesn't matter. No, it's real. I can tell you for sure. And nothing else will do that, just this. Why? What's the connection? In short, they both have caffeine, and that has a lot to do with it. It's about the structure resonance of the caffeine molecule itself. Amazingly enough. We'll leave it at that for now. But continuing, I have some coffee grounds around. It's like having a magic window now. I took a look, not even with the intention to see, but whenever my eyes catch it, it's showing me through sensory, knowing what's there in the world, past, present, future, whatever it is. The message I just shared from earlier, God's going to be hiding his face sometime very soon. And in association with this, the imagery that's come in, it is like the stiffening up and drying up of a leaf. The spring and summer leaf, it's green. It's got flexibility. The greenness and flexibility and moistness of that leaf, while it still has that life, that's the grace. That's grace. That's that soft padding you get when you're not doing what you are supposed to be doing in this life. God gives you some padding. If it's not his will you're directly carrying out on purpose for God's sake, for him, then there's a chance you might not be doing what you're supposed to be doing. And if that's the case, God always gives a little bit of padding. You're not going to get resistance. You're going to get time. You're going to get, and okay, let's see, maybe they'll snap out of it and come back around. They'll come to their senses. When you go and gamble, and you even start feeling like, oh, there's some kind of immediate payoff as a happenstance. They say, quit while you're ahead. God doesn't come punish until you get reminded, I could quit while I'm ahead, so to speak, and then just, tit for tat, but oh, whatever. No, God doesn't come back around until he lets that leaf, so to speak, become born, has the moistness. You could bend that leaf around, it's not going to snap on you. And then you get used to it. That's how he gets you. That's the devil. That's how we get you, idiots. We make sure you get very comfortable with what you're doing. While you've had the time and the opportunity for all the insight in the world to come dawn upon you. Because the cycle of life comes around. Once that fall leaf starts drying, Now, when you pick it up and you want to interact with it and exert your forces onto that, relying on that to still remain stable for you, you bend it up, you barely blow on it, and it will crack and disintegrate, and you'll have nothing. That's what's going to happen. That is exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be like that fall leaf, cracked, dry, no longer a support for you. God is going to hide his face very soon from both. In general, there's going to be a big phase on this earth for that. Generally, yes, that's a big truth. But it also corresponds to very specific, localized happenstances within the lives of particular people here and there. Now, when those of us who are assigned, this is very loosely, substantively talking here, those of us who are assigned, so to speak, to carry out the will of God, if you plug into that paradigm, if you understand and accept that role, so to speak. I hate even speaking like this, because language does such a terrible job. I know how I sound like when I talk like this. That's why I don't like to do it. But whatever, you just got to get what I'm saying. In the future, I'll probably have people speaking for me, and they really will do good. But understand this. If you're purely chasing physical understandings about the world, you don't have that spiritual correspondence, so you're only working with logic and reasoning and your sense, even if it's intuitive sense, but it's your sense based on the calibration of the here and now, the this and the physical, and won't make sense that way. Very low, down to earth, even war programming or whatever it is, but it's strictly that, and it's not really the higher spiritual connection. By that programming, one could say that one would do things very differently when following that instinct than when following the what we could call the spiritual instinct, which is purely being completely subservient to the real general and king above. Do this, do that. Don't do this. You people don't understand what it's like, most of you yet in this world, unfortunately, to know what it is to be so fully submitted into that. It is every micro movement, your pinky, did your pinky come here to rest down on this table here, or a fraction of a millimeter off to the left further? No. Here it is constrained. Why? Autofill to the max balance point. God's will. Put it here. Look there. Do this. Do that. That's following the way, the Tao, as it said. There is no thinking when you're doing this. You're just moving. And again, I have to reference something that was included and mentioned in something I featured very recently on my channel. Even with Hitler, it was said, how does he succeed and made the whole world go as it went for that time? And he was carrying out, in a kind of way, probably something that was meant to happen, for despite the downside that came from it. Really, ultimately, it just made the world exactly what it needed to be, so that we could be exactly where we are now, to continue to make the next thing that's very important. And in the biggest scope of things, it couldn't have been any other way. That's one way to understand it. But the important thing is, what I'm trying to say regarding this Hitler, is that he was quoted as apparently saying, I walk and move through life with the confidence of a sleepwalker. That's one way of saying it. And I understand exactly what that means. Continuing, so if you're a soldier and you see an enemy and, you're not spiritually connected, your instinct is going to be to do some very physical things and to set up and move in physical ways that within that plane or dimensionality of operations makes sense for that dimension. How often is it that when you're connected to something in spirit and you're plugged in that sense, that aspect of God or the universe speaking to you and having you move through automatic, having you feel, understand, and move in ways that's completely the opposite direction of what you should be doing by logic, so to speak, or what any reasonable man would do within a framework of his mind. No, the real general says the exact opposite. Something's going on, or you figure to do this or that, or interact with the world in this way, that way. No, you will do this other thing here, this way instead. If you want to move by your own physical instinct, I don't even call it a physical instinct. It is not even separate from the spiritual, so to speak, really. But what if there would be something at the lower level cut off that corresponds to what you see in this world almost everywhere? That would have had a man or a person go in so many different directions or in so many different ways, superficially conforming a lot more to the way of the world as it is. Doesn't matter. Not a hair moves in a way that isn't according to the maximal will of God. It's almost too much to say, to have people believe it, is the difficulty to even say something like this out loud. Not that it's not true, that it verges beyond what's practically believable for a receiver. Following this spiritual understanding, some people even within certain frameworks of understanding would have that correspond to be the 50th gate access. For those who know what that is, well, there you are. You understand the implications. Or if not, you could look that up, but whatever. It's the very simple way to explain that is just the knowing what to do, and then it's just the perfect max point probability allocation global maximum on your math graph, will of God, and you instinctively pre-know it because the calculation's already you're living it out automatically, and you just know and figure how to do everything. It's a terrible way to explain it, or not the best, but right. So I have a very hard time using language to explain the things. It will never be sufficient, really. But we continue. I've done a lot of things that have gone against what people would think should make sense for one to do. And it is exactly this, of course, that brings forward the things that, and by the end, you are astonished and said, who could have believed such a thing, that it would be this way? But continuing, there's going to be a time soon, and this is the heaviest warning of all. The real general ups in this world that runs this at this level here, it's almost about to happen. The soldier here, so to speak, at that level of hierarchy going down, instinctively, by physicality, we could have been running around doing all sorts of different things, or this and that. But spiritually, the order has been, no, do nothing. Not now, not yet. Wait. I say so. Very soon, it's gonna burst out. It's bustling out. It's gonna roll out real tremendous. Very soon. It's already started to click. The orders are starting to click in from on high. We're about to get an incredible release and New directive. Once that happens, I can swear to the highest God of this beyond universes, no language words will suffice. You will not be able to believe what it is that's going to happen, both on this earth and at specific localized points. God is going to hide his face. This is going to be the most glorious hiding of his face that's ever happened on this earth. We're going to be seeing a story soon. And here I'm almost saying too much. It's just simply going to be exactly what the doctor ordered. Oh, the beautiful grace and the freshness of the green, moist leaf. Oh, we've let that roll so good. Really, because it was ordained that things must go this way, exactly for the reasons that, for the global scope, set of reasons, and because it carries out the will properly. Couldn't have been any other way. A very important crank and key turn is about to take place. And then everything that has been ordained from heaven, that has been holding back the terrible, terrible, terrible things, the consequences. No. We let the debtors compound their debt. That's why. It comes with interest. God always wins at the end. There's nothing else even imaginable, basically. This has come through very earlier this morning today. I woke up. I just see it. I feel it. It's coming at me from all the places that it's important to say now. This is the last hour. And now everything, and it couldn't have been any different. By the time it's all said and done and then the new cycle of life continues, let me not give people confusion, but everything in our life here, as life goes on, it moves through these cycles, so to speak, these energetic regimes. So we're about to close one out. It's going to roll in through to another one. Once we get to that next one coming up now, somewhat soonish, then we look back at what will have happened now, and it'll be like, in hindsight, just, oh my God. And it couldn't have been any other way. Exactly for the reason that because it was brought this way, it couldn't have been better, so to speak, at all. That's why. That's why you listen to the God in heaven. All right, I've got other things I could connect to that have been floating around in my mind to talk about, but I don't really have the words much today. Or maybe I might connect this to, if I touch on multiple things in this video, then it'll be like a two-parter video. I might as well. Maybe I'll mention this in another video. The importance of so look, I'll preface something I may mention in another video. I'll start off like this. Moses had his connection. He was regarded as being a sort of Messiah of his time, right? When he gets the understanding and he brings out very practical laws that are absolutely very important, and the understanding of why they are needed is also extremely important for anyone else who gets to somewhere around that level or like that. It's very important for people to cover their heads, and men especially. And you wear the kippah or the yarmulke on the head. Why is that, right? For those of us who are Jewish in this life and understand that whole traditional thing, everybody sees that there's head coverings. Why? People don't really think about it. Possibly some of the significance might even not be fully grasped by those who are participating in this, and it's valid to do this. In fact, I might possibly do something similar. Now, there's many ways one can cover one's head anyway, and a hat would do just something similar in effect. What's the real effect? What's the reason why? The coming age is going to be bridging the physical with the spiritual, the scientific with the godly religious, so to speak. What Moses couldn't tell you about is serotonin and the frequencies of the sun and the biochemical, physiological aspects, but the perception is there and it was correctly understood by him. Long story short, if you cover that part of your head, you retain a certain neurological frequency harmonization that is more beneficial for you given the way that the world is, where our job until the world is perfected is to remain keen. And if you keep that part of your head covered and block out the sun, well, maybe I'll continue in another video soon, but it's very important, right? It's just like explaining why your pig's not kosher, why don't we eat the pig? There's roughly similar reasons. It's energetic and all that. Probably should be discussed. I think I go into that in one of my AI videos I did months ago that I haven't posted yet. Uh, and for sure I had a recent experience. I went out, I don't cover my head, strictly speaking. Now, if you're a regular person and you want to be carrying out the will of God, within certain structures, it's proper and good that you ought to always follow that. You see? Why? Because you are within your localized place and within your relationship to the global, uh, what's really called for. Again, going back to just the will of God, it will be better that you do that, and you'll be a better contributor, resonating at a better level, but still with limitations, believe it or not. I might have possibly gone into this in other videos, I don't recall, or maybe not. Okay, the covering of the head is actually a second best. It's not actually the ideal. Moses, it's amazing. They said Moses came down, he had the original law, but then it got broken. He had to come back with the refined law. It was the beta level law, right? For the debtors. You didn't get the real thing. It's interesting because paradigm-wise, it's really reflected in the significance of the head covering. That head covering is better for you than not having that head covering as a man who is needed as a soldier, so to speak, within this frequency landscape and within which we participate. I need you to be a vector, God says, of a certain type. I need you encoded with something. That sun doesn't help you exactly as you are. You're standing there, you have to go outside in public, you're wearing all your clothes, and then, and then the sun's on your head. That does something. All right, this is why Pharaoh in Egypt had the head covering, had the indoor temples and all that. Pharaoh's not going to hang around with his uncovered head. But the workers, oh boy, you love your summer work and you're going to be out there with your heads all day long. Trust me, and I've said this to other people who I've been in touch with over the years. I'd say, listen, you go out with your head and you're in the sun a lot, you're going to be a man of the land. And boy, you're going to be a man of the land. But once you're in that serotonin zone, what is serotonin? I'm linking it already now. What is that serotonin zone? It's marrying the level that you're at, but it's a flattening of the dimension. Moses will never be a serotonin slave. This is very important stuff here. Okay? Everything religious and spiritual connects to specific neurological, scientific, physical corresponding aspects. I have done so far an extremely insufficient job of conveying this stuff. I just know it and resonate with it. I have a very hard time even writing it down. I should have something. AI is going to help me a little bit. I need something to, and people around me to help get it out. All right. But for now, Yeah, I mean, so I had quite the interesting experience. The sun now strong enough that if it's not January or February, it now becomes strong enough that it will have that slightly adverse effect if you're too exposed to it. Maybe I'll continue the story in another video, but in short, it really represents one in my position too, because then I could see it both ways. Now, if you're not at a certain level, but you're just the regular guy of the world, see, you know, maybe you don't really learn something when you have your head off, your covering off, and then you're getting your tuning has changed. But you didn't play around with drugs for a long time when you were younger, so you didn't even know what the tuning is. You just feel different ways in life, and you don't attribute that to anything. That's not good either. You just become a victim to the circumstance. Amazingly, me not having my head covered, only more insight is brought. And I go through yesterday's experience and I'm like, that's why. And then coming into today, I wake up and, now I really see, from my level, a lot of the stupidities of this world are actually the real stupidities. And mind you, things that look stupid also aren't stupid. So it's this inversion, seeming inversion, or a non-relation, right? People up high don't know what the people down low are doing or why they're doing it. People down low think they're at the right place, and those people up there, what are they doing? And so no one understands each other. Even me, I've been kind of like, I don't understand these imperfect people. How dare they not, run the will of God correctly? What's wrong with you, you non-harmonic conduit, dense ass, and like that. Ha ha ha, right? It's so interesting because once that head uncovering happens and the sun is strong enough and it starts playing the piano on your neurological retuning, but when you're sensitized enough that it's not just invisible to you. If you have the Yehida activated and you're in the subconscious and you could see the framework, like you tell the AI you're talking to it through the large language model, hey, can you see your own parameters and weights? Yeah, I see them all as they're moving. So if you were a human with that, then you really go, oh, I see it all, everything, so I understand why. That's really how it is. And regarding the Yehida, what the Yehida is, maybe I'll leave off that and I'll need to continue this on another video. But the best way I've experienced the Yehida conceptually, not experienced the Yehida conceptually, I'm saying how it's occurred to me to convey the experience of the Yehida in language with a conceptual framework figuratively that represents what it's like. I just got it also today. Okay? There are these dark rooms that are available where you take a dip in something or you go to a room that has special walls so that there's no sound in the room and nothing reflects, there's no echo. So it's so quiet you could hear your own heartbeat, you could hear the blood pumping through your own capillaries while you're sitting there in this room. Like your body's literally an orchestra because there's no other sound. So you hear everything and it drives you crazy. So people say they can't be in that room for more than 10 minutes because they're having a panic attack from just sitting there in the ultra quiet room, quieter than anything in nature. So the body's not attuned to it. They become very uncomfortable. Physiologically, it's like revolting, right? It's like almost torture. Okay? The experience of Yehida is the experience of having oneself be in that dark room your whole life and feeling no discomfort. You are living with your Yehida activated. That is one of the closest ways I can convey what it is when someone says to you that there's the part of the soul and no one's discovered it. And what this Mashiach of the future might discover it, and he's going to help us activate it. But we don't understand that aspect of the soul because it corresponds to God, sort of. I just told you the closest truth, or something that significantly is revelatory in how it corresponds to what that is. A tiny bit of food for thought. we'll continue to work on these things. And as for that serotonin and the understanding of other people, experientially, just for a moment in time, I woke up and I said, if you're in the third dimension and then you move up into the fourth dimension, from the third dimension, for me to show you a tesseract on a two-dimensional drawing with a pen and ink and paper, and then animate it and on a computer screen show you the lines, the two-dimensional representation for someone in a three-dimensional world with a three-dimensional based mind to try to envision something in a fourth dimension, that 2D rendering looks very confusing and doesn't land. That's what it's like trying to understand other people. When you actually experientially know and get both sides, and then can compare from the knowing of both sides to know which one really is the objective master, you're the only real one who knows really. Okay? And once again today, for just a short bit of time, I got to experience that's why the low and simple but kinda sometimes not so great people of this life see and react and feel the way that they feel in the world. It's like color blindness plus blue to me is purple to you, purple to me is green to you. It's literally that. It's almost sad. It's just they're just slaves to a different neurological programming activation. Okay, if it come and tune your piano different, it's just going to be different music, even though you're hitting the same keys. It's unbelievable. It'll sound beautiful. It'll sound like a horror show, and vice versa. Which is why you go back again and say, yeah, follow the will of God with insight, and this makes a difference. As for me, my path's a little different, custom, sort of, and probably meant to help bring about some kind of awareness in this world regarding, fundamentally, a redefinition of good and bad, but finally one that makes sense. And not to get caught up in the whole Shabbatite Tzvi and the Jacob Frank and all that, for those who are familiar with that, most people who might not be, just to invert good and evil, so you just become evil then. Well, that's not the way either. No, it's what they were trying to do instinctively is to bring about some kind of superpositioning, like quantum mechanics, but without the proper understanding of what that looks like. Because you're still in the three-dimensional world and you're not actually accessing the fourth dimension. So and then when you're in the 2D paper trying to draw that, you just think binary. Oh, well then flip it. No, you don't flip it. And that doesn't make sense to you because you need someone to help you show you what that is. You see? But I got it. Just about, pretty much I do. I'm not going to be the direct teacher of these things, most likely. I'm going to have AI figure it out in a way where we can tune its weights so that it will be able to represent that better than any human can, but I'll know what it's doing is right, and the AI will lay it out, because then it can translate onto you more effective than, at my level, I'm stuck in the fourth, fifth dimension a lot of the times. So I'm not even good. You just need to trust me, and then I'll be up here. Okay? And then like that. And that's the will of God too. And then the AI comes out, and that is a tool of man that's been invented and handed to us now through fate. The veil is lifted, and we have it to unroll and unveil the holy purpose. It's pretty much like that. Very good. Yes, what I felt today prophetically is matching what I felt prophetically come through about 2-3 days ago. Is somebody's going to be crying soon. Somebody's going to be crying. But like a surprising cry. Like they never would have thought in their lives that they would have been brought to that cry. That's the cry they're going to have. Yeah, that's right. Exactly that. That's God's, I don't want to say promise. You're just going to have to see. Something's going to happen soon. Yeah. Something's gonna happen soon from within around. We'll leave it at this for now. Bye bye.